Your background has a serious effect on your present situation or condition more than you can imagine. Yes, I said that. You see, a lot of things you do thinking it's your natural default is just as a result of where you grew up from. A lot of mindsets you have that you think you intentionally cultivated just come from the kind of environment you grew up in, the kind of family you had. For Your background has a serious effect on your present situation or condition more than you can imagine. Yes, I said that. You see, a lot of things you do thinking it's your natural default is just as a result of where you grew up from. A lot of mindsets you have that you think you intentionally cultivated just come from the kind of environment you grew up in, the kind of family you had. For example, if you grew up in the kind of home where for intentions or opinions to be expressed and heard, there has to be some shouts and arguments, and you literally have to be very loud. You'll pick that up as your default setting when it comes to expressing your opinion, and you'll find yourself shouting when you're talking to a friend and trying to make a point, not because you are naturally loud, but because you grew up in a loud environment that has installed a belief that for you to be heard, you have to shout. I don't want to delve into much more examples, but there are so many. So I want you to sit down right now and begin to analyze your life and analyze these beliefs that have become intricate with your personality, which ought not to be so. Nevertheless, as much as there are negative influences as a result of your background and the environment, there's certainly the positive aspect of influence that you rubbed off as a result of where you grew up from. Okay? Now, another thing I want you to note about background, environment, and its influence is that you can certainly be re-influenced. You can pull down those beliefs and enact or erect better ones that suit where you're going to. But you see, you can't even condition yourself to adopt new beliefs if you don't even have an idea of where you're headed. Where you're headed will sponsor what beliefs you think will be okay for you and the ones that will be nah. Something powerful also about background is that the environment you grew up in can kind of condition how you interpret things. For example, if in your background, talking when another person is talking is seen as disrespect, but in your friend's background or in your spouse's background, it's seen as just trying to express yourself because what the other person is saying is wrong, and you just want to clarify so that the person doesn't state something wrong and start believing it, and so you interrupt. Because you grew up from an environment or family where the other person had to finish talking before any other person can talk. When you're talking without your friend or spouse and they interrupt you, you're like, you are disrespecting me. And this is why it's often said, ask your man. We know that we're supposed to respect our husbands. Ask him what he sees as respect. In an African home, or in most African homes, some men see respect as when you're eating with me, don't take any meat until I take first. That's a symbol of respect because of the environment he grew up from. So if you take a meat from your both of you's plate whilst eating, he sees it as disrespect, interpreting from the lens and the environment he grew up from. But for you, this is my husband's food, we are one. I can take the meat and eat as long as you have your portion. Even if you leave the biggest portion for him, he will still say that disrespect because you touched the meat. So ask him, honey, what do you see as respect and what seems like disrespect to you? Because it's different for everybody as a result of what they saw growing up. I also want you to know that whatever trauma you feel, whatever hurt and pain that you cannot let go of, it's valid. Trust me, it's valid. I don't want you to begin to regret. I shouldn't have come from this home. I shouldn't have come from this background, because there's something you have to realize. For every family you grew up in, there was a purpose for it. There is something that family had that made God send you there. God did not want you to experience the negative things you experienced, but you won't say that there was no purpose or reason behind letting you come from that home. There was a reason why Jesus had to come from Virgin Mary. There was a reason why John the Baptist had to come from Elizabeth and Zechariah. It's not all parents that will be able to release their child to go to the wilderness to grow. I mean, I want my child all around me. I want to love on him. But they were willing enough to release him to grow in the wilderness. Not all parents will be able to do that. So there was a certain conditioning in their state of heart that God had to see before he said this family should birth John the Baptist, because they can release him to the wilderness. So it's not a mistake that you're from where you are. Yes, you feel pain. Yes, it's very hurting. Yes, it feels like your life is scattered. But sweetheart, my friend, as long as you're alive, there is still hope, and there is still something you can do about it. And that is why I'm here, to tell you to begin to relieve those memories. But how do you do that? First of all, you embrace them. If you always deny, you can't heal from it. Denial does not validate absence. It's there, no matter how much you deny it. So instead of fighting off the emotion, the feeling, the thoughts, the memory, embrace them. I experienced this at this point. It broke me. I felt down. I felt vulnerable. But what can I do with it? Do I want to remain this way? Don't allow your past experiences define your future. From now on, because you have the power to take authority over your life right now that you're of age, to pick up belief systems you grew up with and analyze them if they are worthy for the future you want to build. If they are not, to the trash. If they are, you take them along. So the pain you experienced and the condition of mind that pain gave you, the future you envision for yourself, does that mindset factor in? Listen, you cannot be a victim forever. It's hurting, trust me, I know. I may not have experienced what you experienced, but you can't play the victim forever. At some point, you need to pick up that script and begin to scribble and write the story you want to see, the story you want to be heard, not the story you were conditioned to act because of external influences. And until you do that, you'll be living the future in the past. Because every day, you're living life based on past memories that are hindering and very limiting. Seek the necessary help you need. Counseling, therapy, Bible, the word, oh my goodness, it can do so much healing. For me, it's the surest way to be healed entirely from inside out. Your spirit, your soul, your body, everything will be healed by the word. You begin to look for scriptures that address the situation that you went through. But by all means, you have a choice to either allow that experience from your childhood or as a result of the background make or mar you. Your beliefs and mindsets are the realities you will see. So I need you to be more intentional about them. Now, lastly, I must say this. We are talking about background and environmental influence, and I'm dating it back to growing up. But you see, you can debunk and pull down all the bad mindsets you have as a result of the environment you grew up in and adopt new mindsets. But if the environment you're living in right now, the association you're keeping right now still reflects the past, you're going nowhere. It's just going to be a temporal healing. If as a result of the past relationship you had, you were so broken and you have the mindset now that men are scum, and now that you've heard me talk, you're like, no, I want to be married someday and I don't want to see my husband as a scum. But you have a friend. that every day she runs, these men are good for nothing. They are useless. Can you imagine this guy the next day? This guy the next day. This guy, you keep hearing people that shade men black. You cannot leave that mindset. You can't leave that belief because you are still in an environment that sponsors your former mindset or this mindset you're trying to leave. So you have to say, girl, please don't tell me anything negative about any man again. If you can't do that, I can't be very close to you. I'm not saying tell her I can't be very close to you, but decide that in your heart because of the journey you're going through. You have to be very intentional with your environment because there are what we call triggers, and you don't want triggers during your healing phase. But once you're healed, there will be no triggers. Okay? But even with that, you have to be very cautious. Another thing, even the environment you live in, like the house you live in, the environment, the surrounding, where you work, the church you go to, if you grew up from an environment where you were burdened to work so hard, all of your siblings, they could live their lives, but you were always given all the work to do. And as a result of that, you felt frustration and depression, and you're depressed. And now you're working in an environment where everybody also throws their work on you, and you can't do it, girl. You will keep sinking in that depression because it's a replica of the environment you came from or the background you came from, just in a work environment. And it will still have the same effect on you. So even the environment you work in, the church you go to, the people you associate with, they all have effect on you. So after you've defined where you want to be in the next how many years, as they say, you decide if the environment you're existing in now can help you build the necessary mindsets for you to get to that environment, build the necessary capacity and network for you to get to that environment. If it does not, then you know that there's need for a change. It's not just about the money. These things are having negative impact in your mental health, your emotional life, your spiritual life, and there has to be a change. It's time for you to rewrite your story intentionally.